Hello friends, myself Dr. Nidhi Darbari on My Education Treasure. In my previous video on Sankhya Darshan, I had discussed about epistemology, metaphysics and axiology characteristics of Sankhya Darshan. Today, in my present video, I am going to discuss about the concepts of Sankhya Darshan. Sankhya is the philosophy of right knowledge, Samyak Gyan. The system is predominantly intellectual and theoretical. Right knowledge is the knowledge of separation of the Purush and Prakriti. The Sankhya philosophy combines the basic doctrines of Sankhya and Yoga. Yoga, as the counterpart of Sankhya, means action or practice and tells us how the theoretical metaphysical teaching of Sankhya might be realized in actual practice. Thus, Sankhya forms a complete system, the former being theoretical, while the latter, Yoga, being the practical aspect of the same teaching. The basic matter, Prakriti, is imperceptible, but its existence can be proved. Spirit or Purush is imperceptible and it cannot be visualized or experienced even through intellect. The spirit is beyond the three attitudes and is unattached or separate also. It cannot be proved even by experience or inference. Vedas is the only proof of its existence. Purush is inert and omnipresent. The spirit is one, but according to several commentators of Sankhya philosophy, it believes in the diversity or plurality of Purush. In the view of this philosophy, the Purush has three states, that is, Baddha or bound, Mukt or free, and Chetan or conscious. This Sankhya philosophy tries to explain Prakriti, Purush, Baddha and Moksha or salvation. This matter is eternal. When the light of Purush is reflected upon Prakriti or matter, intellect is born. The Prakriti consequently begins to consider itself as conscious and the unattached Purush begins to feel attached. This imaginary and imposed relation between Prakriti and Purush is called bondage. Mahat, the verbal meaning of Mahat is great. In philosophical terms, it means intellect or thinking and the decision-making power. As per the description of the Sankhya philosophy, Mahat is the first product of evolution of Prakriti and is the cause of the whole world. Mahat gives birth to Ahankar or egoism, which gives a sense of individuality to each organism. It is the principle that creates individuality. Mind, which is one of the 11 senses, is also born of Ahankar. Mahat or the cosmic intelligence is the first creation of Prakriti. This Mahat, that is intellect, becomes the composing matter for egoism. Mahat is from which all the senses and the rudimental elements which are forms of egoism are formed. This creation from intellect down to the elements is brought about by the modification of Prakriti. Intellect, egoism and the five subtle rudiments or tanmatras are the effects of Prakriti. Having observed the effects, the cause, Prakriti, is inferred. Since it is imperceptible from its subtlety, it must be inferred from its effects. Ahankar. The verbal meaning of Ahankar is self-consciousness or individuality. This quality separates Prakriti from Vikriti, that is, the product of Prakriti. For example, all living beings are made of Prakriti and they are all the products of Prakriti. For Prakriti, they are all same, but from each other's viewpoint, they are distinct individuals. All these individuals are supposed to grow separately and fulfill the objectives of their being. The feeling of separateness from each other comes because of Ahankar. If Ahankar is not there, no one will be able to maintain and develop one's entity. This individuality is the attribute of five subtle elements and two sets of organs. These five subtle elements are Shabd, Sparsh, Roop, Ras, and Gandh. These are better known as sound, tangibility, form or color, taste, and smell or odor. 11 senses. Manas, Gyan Indriyas, Karmendriyas constitute the Ekadash Indriya or 11 senses. Out of these, Man carries out the order of the will through the organs of action Karmendriya. It reflects and doubts Sankalp, Vikalp. It synthesizes sense data into percepts. The mind takes part in both perception and action. This creation from intellect down to the elements is brought about by the modification of Prakriti. Intellect, egoism, and the five subtle rudiments or tanmatras are the effects of Prakriti. Having observed the effects, the cause Prakriti is inferred. Since it is imperceptible from its subtlety, it must be inferred from its effect. The organs of sense are ear, skin, eyes, nose, and tongue. These organs help in the perception of the external subject to the mind. Mind also has the capability to enjoy the subject of all the senses of knowledge alone. For example, mind can perceive seeing some object even in its absence. Similarly, it can listen out of silence also. Therefore, Man is called as the king of all the senses of knowledge. Senses are the instruments of Man. Man comes to know different perception through the senses. The organ of action are larynx, hand, foot, and the excretory and generative organs. These are also known as external organs. The action organs are the instruments of Man to perform the job decided by the intellect. Many times, the Man uses these organs of action as per its own wishes. 5 Tanmatras. The 5 latent causes of this universe are named as 5 Tanmatra in the Sankhya school of Indian philosophy. According to the Sankhya Sutra, the 5 organs of senses gives birth to 5 causes of perception. Hence, 5 Tanmatra are the subject of perception by the 5 senses of knowledge. These are Roop, subject of vision, Ras, subject of taste, Gandh, subject of smell, Sparsh, subject of touch, and Shabd, subject of audition. 5 Mahabhuts. The set of 5 Tanmatra gave birth to Panch Mahabhut, that is 5 gross elements of the universe. The subtle elements are Akash, ether, Vayu, air, Tejas, fire or light, Apas, water, and Prithvi, earth. All these elements are the material causes of the creation of the universe. Praman. There are 3 praman or evidence in the philosophy of Sankhya. The purpose of these evidences is to provide an opportunity to facilitate verification of the principles laid by the philosophy. This ensures authenticity of this philosophy and its norms. The names of these evidences are Pratyaksh or perception, Anuman or inference, and Upman or comparison or with which something is compared to are the 3 praman or proof in the Sankhya system. Motive is for the creation of the universe. According to sage Kapil, Prakriti created the universe for emancipating the soul. Secondly, for the removal of itself, Prakriti, that is, if the soul is essentially free, there is no necessity for property to interfere with the soul in finite bliss. Process of knowledge. An object excites the senses. The mind arranges the sense impressions into a percept. Egoism refers it to the self. Intellect forms the concept. It converts the percept into a concept and presents it to the Purush. Then there is knowledge of the object. Concept of moksha or emancipation. Bondage belongs to Prakriti but is attributed to Purush. Purush is eternally free. Union of Purush with Prakriti due to non-discrimination is bondage. In other words, the failure to discriminate between Purush and Prakriti is the cause of bondage, and disunion of Purush and Prakriti due to discrimination is emancipation. Release is not emerging in the absolute but isolation from Prakriti. The object of the Sankhya system is to liberate Purush or self from the fetters which bind it on account of its union with Prakriti. This is achieved by conveying the correct knowledge of the 25 constituent principles of creation and clearly discriminating the self from them. When the separation of the soul from the body takes place by the destruction of the effect of virtue, vice and the rest, and Prakriti ceases to act in respect to it, then there is the final and absolute emancipation or the final beatitude. When the fruits of act cease and body, both gross and subtle, dissolves, nature does not exist with the respect of to the individual soul. The soul attains the state of Kaivalya. It is freed from all kinds of pain. The link deha or the subtle body which migrates from one cross body to another in successive words is composed of intellect, egoism, mind, the 5 organs of knowledge, the 5 organs of action, and the 5 tanmatra. The impressions of action done in various births are embedded in the subtle body. If you found the video to be informative and interesting, I request you all to please give a like to the video to motivate me, share it with others and subscribe it so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get a notification. The conjunction of the link deha with the gross physical body constitutes birth, and separation of the link deha from the gross physical body is death. This link deha is destroyed by acquiring the knowledge of the Purush. When one attains perfect knowledge, virtue and vice become destitute of causal energy, but the body continues for some time on account of the previous impulse, just as after the action of the potter has stopped, the wheels continue to revolve, going to the momentum given to it. In fact, the self is neither bound nor released, nor does it migrate, but nature alone in relation to various beings is bound, is released and migrates. Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. The moment right knowledge dawns, Jeev becomes liberated and any new karma loses causal efficiency, but even now it may be embodied in previous karma, prarabdha karma, Jivan Mukti. Final and absolute emancipation results after death, Videha Mukti. Sankhya liberation is a state of complete isolation, freedom from all pains, a return of Purush to in its pure self in state where there is no pleasure, no happiness, no bliss. Thank you very much for patiently watching the video and don't forget to subscribe.